My dear child, pause for a moment and stay with me. Do not rush past these next few words, because something is happening right now that deserves your attention. You may not see it with your eyes, and you may not have proof you can hold in your hands, but deep inside your heart you can already sense that something is different. There is a quiet change taking place behind the scenes of your life. A gentle shift is moving through places you cannot reach on your own. The atmosphere around your journey is not the same as it was before. Even if everything around you looks familiar, something has already begun to move. Maybe that is why your heart has felt unusual lately. Maybe that is why your thoughts keep returning to one particular person, no matter how hard you try to focus on other things. Maybe you have wondered why their name suddenly appears in your mind without warning, or why memories you believed were fading have become clear again. It feels like something important is drawing closer, even if you cannot explain it. Stay with me, because what comes next may surprise you. There is more happening than you realize. The person you love, the one who still holds a quiet place inside your heart, is also feeling this change. The one you think about more often than you tell anyone. The one you have tried to leave behind, only to discover that your heart still remembers them. They are experiencing something they did not expect. It is not driven by anger. It is not fueled by regret alone. It is something much deeper, something that reaches beneath the surface of ordinary emotions. Keep listening, because the reason may not be what you imagined. At this very moment they are crying, but these are not the same tears they once shed in moments of disappointment or heartbreak. These tears carry a different meaning. They are the kind that appear when someone has been carrying a heavy burden for far too long, and suddenly feels that weight beginning to disappear. They are the tears that come when hope quietly returns after a season of believing nothing would ever change. Relief has a language of its own, and sometimes it speaks through silent tears. It arrives after countless days of waiting. It appears after years of holding together walls that seemed impossible to break. It comes when a dream that had almost been forgotten slowly begins to feel possible again. That is why these emotions are so powerful. They are not simply reacting to the past. They are responding to something changing inside them. Their heart is becoming softer. Their fears are losing some of their strength. The pressure they carried is no longer as overwhelming as before. And here is the unexpected part. The reason this emotional release has started is probably not connected to an expensive gift, a dramatic conversation, or a perfect message. It is not because every problem suddenly disappeared overnight. It happened because of something much quieter, something so small that you may have overlooked it completely. Do not stop watching now, because this next part could change the way you see everything that has happened. Take a moment and think about the past few days. Look back at the simple choices you made without expecting them to matter. Maybe there was a moment when you chose peace instead of another argument. Maybe there was a time when you decided not to answer harsh words with more harsh words. Maybe you stopped chasing answers and began investing your energy in your own healing. Maybe you finally accepted that you could not control every outcome, so you focused on becoming stronger instead. Those quiet decisions carried more power than you realized. While they seemed ordinary to you, they created a ripple that reached farther than you could see. Sometimes the biggest turning points are not loud or dramatic. They happen in silence, hidden inside ordinary moments that almost go unnoticed. Every small step toward patience, every decision to let go of bitterness, every act of choosing growth over fear, sends out a message that cannot always be explained. It changes you first, and then it begins to change the people connected to your story. What felt like a normal day may have become the beginning of a completely different chapter. Keep watching, because what seems invisible today often becomes obvious tomorrow. The story is still unfolding, and sometimes the greatest changes begin with one quiet choice that almost nobody notices except the heart. You may have believed that no one noticed the small changes you were making. You may have thought your quiet progress went unseen, as if nothing around you was different. But something really did change. The energy you carried became lighter. The way you looked at love slowly shifted. Even the way you looked at yourself began to grow healthier. You may not have realized it, but the person you love somehow felt that difference. They sensed it even from far away. They felt it without a conversation, without a message, and without anyone explaining it to them. Some of the strongest messages in life are never spoken out loud. Some of the deepest changes are felt long before they are fully understood. Love is not only expressed through beautiful words. Love also shows itself through growth, through healing, through becoming more honest with yourself than ever before. And something inside you has been changing little by little. Stay with me because this next part matters more than you think. What you are seeing is not just a passing emotion. It is not simply one emotional day that will disappear tomorrow. This is the beginning of something that has been quietly growing beneath the surface for much longer than you realize. Keep watching because the story is only beginning, and what happens next may completely change the way you understand everything. For a long time, this person was never waiting for you to become perfect. They were not expecting flawless words or perfect timing. They were not asking you to become someone completely different. What they quietly hoped for was much simpler than that. They wanted you to believe that you were already worthy of love. They wanted you to stop carrying the heavy belief that you had to earn every bit of care or affection that came your way. They wanted you to stop measuring your value by how much you could give or sacrifice. And recently something inside you finally started to change. You began showing up as your true self instead of trying to become the version you thought everyone else wanted. You stopped trying to control every situation. You stopped searching for hidden meanings behind every reaction. You slowly released the pressure of trying to make everything work through effort alone. That quiet decision became far more powerful than you imagined. It was the moment everything slowly began to move. Do not skip this part because it explains more than you may realize. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs arrive so quietly that we almost mistake them for ordinary moments. The change you made may seem small, but it is actually the first visible sign of something much bigger. Think about a tree growing deep beneath the ground. For years, nobody sees what is happening below the surface. The roots continue spreading in silence. They become stronger every single day without anyone noticing. Then one morning, a tiny green leaf appears. That small leaf did not suddenly appear by accident. It is proof that life has been growing all along where no one could see it. The same thing can happen in a relationship. You may believe the connection disappeared forever. You may think the distance became too great, or that too many words were left unsaid. But sometimes love is not destroyed. Sometimes it is simply covered by fear, confusion, hurt, and the passing of time. It becomes hidden instead of lost. A bridge between two hearts may look broken when viewed through disappointment, but often it is only hidden behind thick fog. And now that fog is slowly beginning to lift. Stay here because the next part reveals why this matters more than you think. The picture is becoming clearer one step at a time. Right now you may still be standing on your side, looking into the distance and wondering whether anything has really changed. You may still be waiting for visible proof before allowing yourself to believe. But while you have been looking ahead, something has already started changing on the other side. Something inside them has quietly awakened. Their emotions are rising because they finally noticed something they had hoped to see for a long time. They saw you choosing your own peace instead of endless struggle. They saw you becoming calmer in situations that once overwhelmed you. They saw you becoming more genuine, more open, and more comfortable with who you really are. Beneath every layer of fear and every wall built around your heart, they finally caught a glimpse of the real you. And that touched them more deeply than you know. Keep listening, because this changes the meaning of everything that came before. Sometimes one quiet transformation speaks louder than years of trying to prove yourself through words alone. Now comes the question that many people find difficult to answer. What happens next? Most people believe the next step is to chase harder, explain more, or prove their love one more time. But that is not the direction this journey is taking. The next step reaches much deeper than that. It is about continuing to become the person you are always meant to be. This story is not only about two people finding each other again. It is also about personal transformation. It is about what happens when someone finally stops hiding behind fear and chooses to be seen exactly as they are. That kind of courage changes everything. It changes relationships. It changes confidence. It changes the future. The quiet moment that started this shift was never meaningless. What seemed like an ordinary decision became the beginning of something far greater. Sometimes the smallest choices create the biggest turning points in life. So remain here for a little longer, because what feels like the end of one chapter may actually be the opening of another. As everything becomes quiet, pay close attention. The next step may challenge everything you once believed about love, trust, and your own worth. But it may also lead you toward the very answer your heart has been waiting to receive. And what happens after this may surprise you more than you ever expected. That quiet pause you felt was never a sign that nothing was happening. It was preparation. It was the space between one chapter closing and another one getting ready to begin. Life often becomes calm just before something meaningful changes. Sometimes everything slows down because something much deeper is taking shape beneath the surface. And right now you are standing close to one of those moments. Before you take another step, pause and remember something you may have forgotten. Think back to the time when you almost gave up, not the loud argument, not the painful words, not the obvious heartbreak everyone could see. Think about the silent moment when you were completely alone with your thoughts, the moment when you quietly questioned yourself, the moment when you wondered if maybe you were the one who had been getting everything wrong. Maybe you even asked yourself whether you really knew how to love someone in the right way. That moment hurt more than you admitted. But it also changed something inside you. Without realizing it, you stopped trying to perform love like it was something that had to be earned. You stopped trying to control every emotion and every outcome. You stopped believing you had to become someone else just to deserve acceptance. Instead, you allowed yourself to feel everything honestly. You admitted that you were exhausted. You accepted that you were human. And that simple surrender became far more powerful than you understood at the time. Stay with me because this next part may change how you see your entire journey. Sometimes the greatest turning points arrive quietly, and we almost miss them because they do not look dramatic. That surrender was never a sign of weakness. It was the moment your heart became real. It was the moment you stopped hiding behind the version of yourself that always had to appear strong. What happens after that kind of honesty is something very few people are prepared for. Not because it brings more pain, but because it can be so unexpected, so beautiful, that part of you struggles to believe it is actually happening. Some moments cannot be rushed no matter how badly we want them. Some connections refuse to follow the timelines we create in our minds. Some relationships grow slowly through difficult nights, silent battles, unanswered questions, and tears that nobody else ever witnessed. Every challenge quietly builds something stronger beneath the surface. And now it may feel as though that love is standing right in front of you, gently inviting you to take one more step. This is why the choice before you matters so much. Your answer is more than a simple word. It is more than agreement. It is the opening of a new doorway. Before you walk through it, remain here for just a little longer. Feel the importance of this moment. Notice the silence between the question and the answer. Notice how your heart beats a little faster while your mind keeps searching for certainty. Keep watching because the meaning of that silence may surprise you. That silence is not empty. It is not proof that something is wrong. It is the place where your deepest wisdom begins to speak. Feeling uncertain does not mean you are weak. It does not mean you are running away from love. It does not mean you are afraid of something good entering your life. Sometimes hesitation simply means your heart understands how important this moment truly is. A part of you already knows that accepting the kind of love you have always hoped for is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a new journey, a deeper journey, a more honest one. Because once you truly allow someone into your heart, you cannot return to the person you used to be. Once the walls begin to fall, once you stop planning escape routes, once you stop protecting yourself from every possible disappointment, something changes forever. You make a quiet decision to be fully seen, and there is a difference between being seen and being truly known. Many people only see the version you present to the world. They see the smile you wear while carrying hidden pain. They hear you say everything is fine even when your heart feels tired. They admire the strength you show while never realizing how much you have carried alone. That is easy, but being truly known is something completely different. Stay with me because this is where the story reaches its deepest point. Being truly known means someone gently discovers the parts of you that you believed had to stay hidden. They see your fears without judging them. They notice your doubts without turning away. They recognize your unfinished places, your quiet struggles, your invisible scars, and they still choose to remain beside you. That is where real connection begins. And the person standing before you understands this more than you realize. Their eyes are still filled with emotion because they know your answer is not simply a response to a question. Your yes becomes a key that unlocks a door they have quietly stood behind for years. Perhaps they never even realized that door had been closed until now. Behind it lives the version of themselves they rarely allow anyone to meet. Not the polished version that always says the right thing, not the version that tries to appear perfect while hiding every crack, but the real person, the one who quietly waited inside their own heart, the one who feared that showing everything might lead to rejection. They spent so much time trying to become enough, trying to be everything they believed you wanted, trying to hide the pieces they thought would make you walk away. Yet the truth was always much simpler. You were never searching for perfection. You were searching for honesty. You were searching for the real person beneath every mask. Deep inside, you always sensed there was more to them than what they showed the world. You felt it during the quiet moments. You felt it every time their absence stayed with you longer than you expected. And that feeling was never meaningless. It was quietly leading both of you toward a moment that was always meant to arrive. You felt it every time your heart missed something you could never fully describe. There was always a quiet feeling that your connection reached beyond ordinary words, beyond simple explanations, beyond anything either of you could easily understand. The longing you carried was never only about wanting them close. It was also about the person they kept hidden from the world, the person they were afraid to reveal. Deep inside, you sensed there was more waiting beneath the surface. And now, because you finally allowed yourself to lower your own defenses, they are slowly finding the courage to lower theirs as well. This is where everything begins to change. The person standing behind those invisible walls is not exactly the person you imagined. They are more than the version you first fell in love with. They are the person you were always meant to discover, the one hidden beneath old fears, the one hidden beneath painful memories, the one hidden beneath years of emotional protection. They quietly waited for the day you would stop looking only at what they showed you and begin noticing what had been there all along. Stay with me, because the next few moments reveal why every step of your journey has mattered more than you ever realized. Sometimes the greatest discoveries happen only after both hearts become willing to be honest. When they finally step forward, when the last layer of protection begins to fall away, when they stand before you without pretending, without hiding, without trying to control how they are seen, something becomes clear. Every difficult season had a purpose. Every misunderstanding, every uncomfortable conversation, every period of silence, every night when you wondered whether it was worth holding on, none of it was wasted. None of it happened without meaning. Every experience shaped both of you in ways you could not see at the time. It slowly prepared each of you for a meeting that could only happen after real growth had taken place. The person you are about to know more deeply is not searching for perfection. They do not need flawless answers. They do not expect you to always appear strong. What they truly need is honesty. They need the real person standing in front of them. And being real means admitting the fears you once tried to hide. It means admitting that there are still days when you question yourself. It means admitting there are moments when you wonder whether you are enough. Keep listening, because what happens after that honesty may surprise you more than anything else in this story. The moment you finally speak that truth, something unexpected begins to happen. They do not pull away. They do not judge you. They do not see weakness where you expected rejection. Instead, they feel something they have quietly hoped for all along. They feel trusted, and trust is far more valuable than perfection. They were never waiting for a version of you that never struggled. They were never hoping for someone who always had the right words, or never made mistakes. They have been waiting for the person who would finally unlock the door and invite them into the real parts of your heart. That is where the next chapter truly begins, because when they reveal who they really are, and when you finally meet the person who has been hidden behind every wall, another choice appears before you. It is a choice that reaches beyond romance. It reaches beyond fear. It asks you to release the old story you have repeated to yourself for years, the story that whispered you were not enough. The story that convinced you love always had to be earned. The story that suggested happiness belonged to everyone except you. Stay here, because letting go of that story may become the most important decision you ever make. The person standing before you has something they have carried silently for a long time. A confession waits inside their heart. But it is not only about what happened in the past, it is about everything they hope can still happen in the future. It is about the life they quietly imagined but were afraid to believe could ever become real. They are ready to share those dreams, yet they know the moment is not here quite yet. First, you have to take one final step. You have to stop standing at the doorway of possibility and choose to walk through it. You have to meet their eyes without fear and let them know that you truly see who they are. Sometimes the most powerful words are also the simplest. I see you. Those few words have the power to change everything. The walls begin to fall. Fear slowly loses its grip. The distance between two hearts becomes smaller than it has ever been before. Keep watching, because what comes after this cannot simply be explained. It has to be experienced. Some doors only reveal what is behind them once you find the courage to walk through. The person waiting on the other side is not waiting for perfection. They are not waiting for someone who never doubts, never struggles, or never feels afraid. They are waiting for someone who chooses to stay when life becomes real. Someone who chooses honesty instead of pretending. Someone who chooses connection instead of hiding behind emotional walls. Someone who remains present even when courage is required. And when you finally take that step, something changes between both of you. They do not rush to speak, not because there are no words, but because some emotions are simply too deep to fit inside a sentence. They move a little closer. The space between you feels different. The air seems warmer. Even the silence feels alive, as though both of you suddenly understand something that cannot be explained. Before reaching for your hand, they simply look at you. Their eyes hold every feeling they were never able to express. They see every version of you. The confident one, the uncertain one, the one who smiled while carrying hidden pain, the one who kept moving forward even when you felt completely exhausted. They notice every part you believed would make someone leave. Yet instead of stepping back, they move closer. They are not focused on your imperfections. They are looking straight at your heart. They see the strength that has always lived inside you, even when you could not see it yourself. Then they finally speak. The words are quiet. They are simple. But they carry the weight of every moment you spent wondering if you truly mattered. They softly tell you, I have been waiting for you. Only a few words, yet they reach places inside your heart that no one else has ever touched. And in that moment, everything feels different.